The phone rang at the worst possible moment. Taemin's hand hovered over the secure line, his jaw tight as three of his most trusted lieutenants waited for his decision about the territory dispute in Queens. The stakes were astronomical. One wrong word could ignite a war that would paint the streets red. His finger was an inch from the button when small hands snatched the phone from his mahogany desk. "Hello?" A child's voice chirped into the receiver. Taemin's blood turned to ice. Every man in the room froze. On the other end of that line was Kim Sang-uk, the most volatile boss in the Korean underworld, a man who'd once gutted someone for answering his call 2 seconds late. "My name is Destiny," the 6-year-old continued brightly, twirling the phone cord. "Are you single? Because my mom is really lonely and she's super pretty and she makes the best pancakes and she needs someone to marry her. Will you marry my mom?" The room held its breath. Taemin stared at the little black girl with puffballs in her hair, wearing a pink dress, who'd just propositioned a crime lord for marriage on his behalf. His carefully constructed world had just collided with pure, innocent chaos, and somewhere in his chest, something he thought long dead stirred to life. Layla's knees ached as she scrubbed the marble floor of the penthouse's master bathroom, the kind of ache that spoke of too many hours on hard surfaces, too many years of bending and stretching for other people's comfort. She'd been cleaning Taemin's Tribeca penthouse for 3 months now, sent by the luxury housekeeping agency that catered to Manhattan's elite. The pay was exceptional, almost suspiciously so, but Layla had learned not to question good fortune when Destiny needed new shoes every 3 months and her diabetes medication wasn't getting any cheaper. She sat back on her heels, wiping sweat from her forehead with the back of her wrist. At 28, Layla knew she was beautiful, even if she rarely had time to think about it. Her skin was a rich, deep brown that glowed even under the harsh bathroom lights. Her natural hair, usually pulled back in a practical bun, had a texture that told stories of her grandmother's Jamaican roots. Her eyes, dark and expressive, had seen too much struggle for someone so young, but they still held a warmth that made Destiny feel safe. The apartment itself was a study in contradictions, sleek, modern, expensive beyond measure, yet somehow cold. In 3 months, Layla had never seen Taemin bring anyone home. No friends, no women, no family. Just an endless parade of men in dark suits who spoke in low voices and left quickly. She wasn't stupid. She knew what kind of man employed a housekeeping service that required background checks more thorough than the FBI and paid 3 times the market rate for discretion. "Mama!" Destiny's voice echoed through the massive apartment. Layla's heart seized. "Baby, what did I tell you about staying in the kitchen?" She scrambled to her feet, her cleaning supplies clattering as she rushed out of the bathroom. The penthouse was supposed to be empty. Taemin's assistant had confirmed he wouldn't be home until evening. That's why Layla had brought Destiny today. Her regular sitter had cancelled last minute, and she couldn't afford to miss a shift. She rounded the corner to find her daughter standing in the living room, staring wide-eyed at a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the Hudson River. The late morning sun painted the room in gold, making Destiny's brown skin glow like polished mahogany. "Mama, I can see the boats!" Destiny pressed her small hands against the glass. "I see them, baby, but you need to come back to the kitchen. Remember what I said? You can color and watch your tablet, but you have to stay where I can see you." "But Mama, it's so pretty." Layla's chest tightened. Destiny had spent her entire 6 years in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment in the Bronx, where the view was of another building's brick wall. This glimpse of how the other half lived, how some people woke up to beauty every single day, it hurt in a way Layla couldn't quite name. "I know, sweetheart, but we have rules, remember?" "Is this your daughter?" The voice cut through the room like a blade, deep and accented with the particular cadence of someone who'd learned English as a second language, but had perfected it through years of use. Layla spun around, her heart hammering against her ribs. Taemin stood in the doorway of his home office, a room Layla had never been allowed to enter. He was younger than she'd expected, mid-30s at most, with the kind of presence that filled a room without effort. His black hair was perfectly styled, not a strand out of place. He wore a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms that spoke of time spent doing more than paperwork. His eyes, dark and unreadable, fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Mr. Taemin, I'm so sorry," Layla stammered, moving quickly to put herself between him and Destiny. "I didn't know you'd be home. My sitter cancelled and I couldn't afford to miss the shift, and I promise it won't happen again." He held up a hand, silencing her. For a moment, he just looked at them, at Layla, in her simple cleaning uniform, her hair escaping its bun in wild curls. At Destiny, peeking around her mother's legs with curious eyes. "What's your name?" he asked, his gaze dropping to the little girl. Destiny, who'd never met a stranger, stepped forward, despite Layla's restraining hand. "I'm Destiny. I'm 6 years old, and I can read chapter books, and I want to be a veterinarian when I grow up, because I love animals, but Mama says we can't have a dog because our apartment is too small, but maybe one day we can have a fish at least." The corner of Taemin's mouth twitched. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was something. A veterinarian, that's ambitious. What does ambitious mean? It means you have big dreams. "Oh, then yes, I'm very ambitious." Destiny beamed. Layla's hands shook. She had no idea what was happening, but every instinct screamed that she was about to lose this job, and with it, the financial stability that kept them afloat. "Mr. Taemin, please, I'll pack up and leave right now. I'll make sure the agency sends someone else." "Does she always talk this much?" he interrupted, still watching Destiny. Yes, sir. She's very social." "Social," he repeated, as if testing the word. "I see." He walked past them to the windows, his movements controlled and precise. Destiny watched him with unabashed fascination. Layla held her breath. "The boats," Taemin said, pointing. "That one is a container ship. See how low it sits in the water? That means it's full of cargo. And that one, the white one, that's a yacht. Probably some Wall Street executive who thinks money can buy happiness." Destiny giggled. "Can it?" "No." His answer was immediate and absolute. "It can buy comfort, security, power, but not happiness. That's what Mama says too. She says happiness comes from love and family and doing good things for people." Taemin turned then, his eyes finding Layla's. Something passed between them, a current of understanding that had no business existing between a crime boss and a cleaning woman. He saw her, really saw her, in a way that made her feel exposed and exhilarated all at once. "Your mother is wise," he said quietly. Layla's throat went dry. "We should go. You should finish your work." He checked his watch, a sleek piece that probably cost more than she made in 6 months. "I have a meeting in my office. It will last approximately 2 hours. Your daughter may stay in the kitchen or living room, but not in the hallway near my office. Is that understood?" She blinked. "You mean I'm not fired?" His expression was unreadable. "Why would you be fired for solving a childcare problem? You showed resourcefulness. I respect that." Before she could respond, he walked back toward his office. At the doorway, he paused. "Destiny." The little girl perked up. "Yes? There are books in the cabinet under the television. Feel free to look at them while your mother works." Then he was gone, the office door closing with a soft click that somehow felt louder than a slam. Layla stood frozen, trying to process what had just happened. She'd expected anger, dismissal, coldness. Instead, she'd gotten, what? Permission? Kindness? From a man whose reputation she could only guess at, but whose eyes held shadows that spoke of violence and hard choices. "Mama, he's nice." Destiny tugged her hand. "Can we look at the books?" "Yeah, baby," Layla whispered, still staring at that closed door. "We can look at the books." But as she returned to her cleaning, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. The penthouse didn't feel quite so empty anymore. And the man behind that door, the one with the cold eyes and the unexpected gentleness toward a chattering 6-year-old, he didn't feel quite so much like a stranger. Her phone buzzed. A text from the agency. "Mr. Taemin has requested you specifically for all future appointments. Compensation increased by 40%. Congratulations." Layla's hands trembled as she read the message again. 40%. That was the difference between barely surviving and actually living. That was Destiny's medication covered without her having to choose between pills and groceries. From the living room, she heard her daughter's delighted gasp as she discovered a book about animals. And from behind that closed door she heard nothing at all, but somehow Layla knew that Taemin was thinking about them, about her, and the thought terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. 3 weeks passed in a strange new rhythm. Layla came to the penthouse 4 times a week now, and Destiny came with her every time. Taemin had made it clear through his assistant that the child was not an inconvenience. In fact, he'd had a small desk installed in the corner of the living room, stocked with coloring books, puzzles, and educational materials that had definitely not come from a dollar store. Layla had tried to refuse. She'd tried to maintain professional boundaries. But how did you refuse a man who'd somehow discovered your daughter was struggling with multiplication tables and had the next day delivered a set of math games that made learning fun? How did you maintain distance from someone who noticed everything but said so little? It was a Wednesday afternoon when everything changed. Tae-min had been in his office for hours. Layla knew the signs by now. When he went in before she arrived and hadn't emerged by the time she started cleaning the kitchen, it meant serious business. The kind of business that made his jaw tight and his shoulders rigid. The kind that sometimes left him standing at those floor-to-ceiling windows long after sunset, staring at the city lights like they held answers to questions he wouldn't speak aloud. She was folding laundry in the master bedroom, his clothes precise and expensive under her careful hands, when Destiny appeared in the doorway. "Mama, I'm hungry." Layla glanced at her watch. 4:30. "Okay, baby. Let me finish this and I'll make you a snack. Can I have the crackers from the kitchen? The ones in the blue box? Those crackers cost $12. Layla knew because she'd seen the receipt once, left carelessly on the counter. $12 for something Destiny would eat in 10 minutes. But Tae-min had told her through his assistant that anything in the kitchen was available to them. "Just a few, okay? And use a napkin." Destiny skipped off. Layla returned to the laundry, trying not to think about how good Tae-min's shirt smelled, like cedar and something darker, more complex. Trying not to remember the way his eyes had lingered on her yesterday, when she'd been reaching for a high shelf, and her uniform had ridden up slightly, revealing a strip of brown skin at her waist. She was folding the last shirt when she heard it. Voices from the office. Not just Tae-min's low rumble, but other men, angry men. And then, cutting through it all, a sound that made her blood freeze. Destiny's bright, cheerful voice. "Hi? Are you having a meeting? Mama says I'm not supposed to interrupt meetings, but I was walking by and I heard talking, and I wanted to say hi because it's polite to say hi when you meet new people." Layla dropped the shirt and ran. The office door was ajar. Through the gap she could see Tae-min behind his desk, his face carved from stone. 3 men sat across from him, their suits expensive, their expressions dangerous. And there in the middle of the room was Destiny, holding a half-eaten cracker and smiling like she'd just made new friends at the playground. "Destiny!" Layla's voice came out strangled. "Baby, come here right now." But before Destiny could move, one of the men laughed. It wasn't a kind sound. "So this is why you've been distracted, Tae-min. A woman, and her little—" "Finish that sentence and you'll lose your tongue." Tae-min's voice was quiet, but it carried a weight that made the room's temperature drop. The child interrupted a business meeting. Children do that. It's not relevant to our discussion. The man who'd spoken leaned back, his smile sharp. "Everything is relevant. Your father would never have allowed such distractions." Tae-min stood, and Layla saw it then. The reason men feared him. The absolute unwavering authority that came not from posturing, but from the bone-deep certainty that he could and would destroy anyone who challenged him. "My father," he said softly, "is dead. I am not him, and you would do well to remember which one of us sits behind this desk." The tension in the room was suffocating. Destiny, finally sensing that something was wrong, moved toward her mother. Layla scooped her up, holding her tight. "I apologize for the interruption," Layla managed, her voice steadier than she felt. "It won't happen again." She turned to leave, but Tae-min's voice stopped her. "Layla." She looked back. Their eyes met, and in his gaze, she saw something she didn't understand. A warning, maybe, or a promise. "Take her to the kitchen, wait for me there." It wasn't a request. Layla nodded and fled, Destiny heavy in her arms. In the kitchen, she set her daughter down and knelt to her level, hands trembling. "Baby, what did I tell you about Mr. Tae-min's office?" "Not to go near it," Destiny whispered, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm sorry, Mama. I forgot." "I know, sweetheart. I know you didn't mean any harm. But those men in there, they're not like the people we know. They're dangerous, and Mr. Tae-min's work is very serious and very private. Is he mad at me?" "I don't know, baby." But she did know. She knew they'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Those men had seen them. Had seen that Tae-min allowed them in his space, his private sanctuary. In his world, that kind of visibility was dangerous. For everyone involved. 20 minutes later, she heard the office door open. Footsteps in the hall. Then Tae-min appeared in the kitchen doorway alone. Destiny hid behind Layla's legs. Layla stood, chin up, ready for whatever came next. "Are they gone?" she asked. "Yes. I'll pack our things. I understand if you need to terminate the arrangement. Sit down." It was the first direct order he'd ever given her. She sat. Destiny climbed into her lap. Tae-min pulled out a chair across from them, his movements controlled. For a long moment, he just looked at them. at Destiny's tear-streaked face, at Layla's protective posture. "I'm not firing you," he said finally. Relief flooded through her. "Thank you. But we need to establish something." He leaned forward, his elbows on the table. "My work is dangerous. The men you saw today, they're part of an organization that doesn't tolerate weakness. To them, caring about someone, having someone you protect, that's a vulnerability." "I understand," Layla said quietly. "We'll be more careful." "You're not understanding me." His eyes, dark and intense, held hers. "I'm telling you that by being here, by your daughter running into that room with her innocent smile and her crackers, you've made yourselves targets. Because those men now know that I didn't react the way I should have. I didn't scare her. I didn't treat her like the interruption she was. I protected her. Protected you both." Layla's heart hammered. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I should send you away right now, for your own safety and for mine." He paused, his jaw working. "But I'm not going to." The kitchen fell silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. "Why not?" Layla whispered. Taemin's gaze dropped to Destiny, who was watching him with wide eyes. When he spoke, his voice was softer than Layla had ever heard it. "Because your daughter asked me yesterday if I ever get lonely in this big apartment, and I told her no, and she said that was good because being lonely is the worst feeling in the world, and she was glad I had friends to visit me." He looked back at Layla. "I haven't had a real conversation with someone who wasn't afraid of me or trying to use me in more than 5 years. Your daughter doesn't know she should be afraid. And you—" He trailed off, something raw flickering across his features. "You look at me like I'm a person, not a position, not a threat, just a man." Layla's breath caught. "You are just a man." "No," he said quietly. "I'm not. But when I'm here, with you both, I almost remember what that felt like." Destiny, with the emotional radar children possess, slipped off Layla's lap and walked to Taemin. She held out her hand, palm up. He stared at it like it was a grenade. "My mama says when someone is sad, holding hands helps," Destiny said solemnly. Slowly, carefully, Taemin reached out and took her small hand in his much larger one. His fingers, scarred and strong, completely engulfed hers, but he held her with a gentleness that made Layla's throat tight. "Thank you," he murmured. "You're welcome," Destiny brightened. "Do you want to see the picture I drew? It's our apartment building, and Mama and me and I even drew our neighbor Mrs. Chen, who gives me cookies sometimes. I would like that very much." As Destiny ran off to get her drawing, Layla and Taemin remained in the kitchen, the air between them charged with something neither could name. He was still sitting. She was still across from him, but the distance felt different now, closer, more dangerous. "This is insane," Layla said. "Yes, you're—" She stopped herself. "You can say it. I'm a criminal. I've done things that would make you sick if you knew. I've hurt people, killed people. I'm not good, Layla. Don't make the mistake of thinking I am." She should have been terrified, should have grabbed Destiny and run, but she saw something in his eyes, in the way he held himself, that spoke of a man trapped by circumstances as much as choices. "What happened to you?" she asked quietly. "I was born into this life. My father was the head of our organization. When he died, the position came to me. I was 19. I could have refused, but my younger sister, she was 12. If I didn't take control, our enemies would have killed us both. So I became what I needed to be." He flexed his fingers, the ones that had just held Destiny's hand so gently. "I've been that person for 16 years. I don't know how to be anyone else." "That's not true." His eyes snapped to hers. "What? You just held my daughter's hand like she was made of glass. You put a learning desk in your living room. You notice when she's struggling with math." Layla leaned forward. "Whatever else you are, you're also capable of kindness. Don't tell me you've forgotten who you are when I can see exactly who you're trying not to be." For a moment, Taemin looked genuinely stunned. Then, slowly, that almost smile returned. "You're dangerous." "Me?" She laughed, the sound bitter. "I clean houses for a living. I take the bus because I can't afford a car. My daughter and I share a bedroom. How am I dangerous? Because you make me want things I can't have." His voice was rough, raw. "Things I gave up the right to a long time ago." Before she could respond, Destiny came racing back, waving a piece of construction paper covered in crayon. "Look, look. This is Mama and this is me, and these are the cookies Mrs. Chen makes." Taemin took the drawing with both hands, studying it with genuine interest. "This is excellent. You have real talent, Destiny. Really, really. The proportions are quite good for your age." Destiny beamed. Then, with the randomness that only 6-year-olds possess, she asked, Do you have a family? The question hung in the air. Tae-min's expression closed off slightly, but he answered honestly. I have a sister. She lives in California now. She's a doctor. A doctor? That's even more ambitious than a veterinarian, Destiny breathed. Do you miss her? Every day. Then you should call her. Mama says family is the most important thing, and we should never forget to tell people we love them, because tomorrow isn't promised. Tae-min's eyes found Layla's again, and she saw the question there, the wonder. How had this woman, who had so little, managed to raise a child so full of love and wisdom? Your mama is right, he said softly. About many things. And as Destiny continued to chatter, showing him every detail of her drawing, Layla felt the ground shift beneath her feet. She was falling into something deep and complicated, something that could destroy them both. But when Tae-min smiled at her daughter, when he listened to her rambling stories with genuine attention, when he looked at Layla like she was precious instead of paid help, she couldn't bring herself to pull back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The call started 2 days later. Layla was at the penthouse scrubbing the guest bathroom when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Silence. Then a click. It happened again an hour later, and again that evening at her apartment in the Bronx. Each time, silence followed by disconnection. By the fourth call, her hands were shaking. She didn't tell Tae-min. What would she say? That she was getting hang-up calls? In the world she came from, that was nothing, a wrong number, a telemarketer, nothing to panic about. But on Friday, when she arrived at the penthouse with Destiny, she found Tae-min waiting in the living room, not in his office, not dressed for a meeting, just standing by those massive windows, his posture rigid. We need to talk, he said without preamble. Layla's stomach dropped. Destiny, baby, can you go set up your coloring at your desk? Okay, Mama. Once Destiny was occupied, Layla approached Tae-min cautiously. What's wrong? He turned to face her, and she saw it immediately. The cold fury in his eyes, barely contained. You've been getting phone calls? It wasn't a question. How did you? Because I've been having you followed. He said it flatly, without apology. After the incident with my associates, I assigned someone to watch you, to make sure you were safe. Anger flared hot in her chest. You had me followed, you put someone on me without asking. Yes, that's a violation. That's an invasion of my privacy. That's protection. He stepped closer, his intensity making her breath catch. Those men in my office, they noticed you. They noticed how I reacted to your daughter. In my world, that makes you a pressure point, a weakness to exploit. I'm not your responsibility. You became my responsibility the moment I allowed you to stay. His voice was hard, unyielding. The calls you've been receiving, they're not random. Someone is testing you, seeing if you'll scare easily. It's a standard intimidation tactic. Fear, cold and sharp, cut through her anger. Testing me for what? To see if you can be used against me, if threatening you or Destiny would make me compliant. His jaw clenched. It won't work. All it will do is get people killed. Layla's legs felt weak. She sank onto the nearby couch. This is insane. I'm just a maid. Why would anyone care about me? Tae-min sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his body heat. Because you're not just a maid. Not anymore. You're the woman who makes me smile. The woman whose daughter I allow in my personal space. The woman I increased salary for without negotiation. In the circles I move in, that means something. That doesn't mean anything, Layla protested, but her voice was weak. Doesn't it? The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Layla's heart hammered. She thought of all the little moments over the past month. The way Tae-min's eyes followed her when she moved through the penthouse. The way he found excuses to be in whatever room she was cleaning. The way he spoke to Destiny with a gentleness that seemed to surprise even himself. The way she found herself thinking about him late at night when Destiny was asleep and the apartment was quiet, wondering what it would be like to touch him, to have him touch her, to bridge the impossible distance between their worlds and just feel. I should quit, she whispered. Yes, you should. He didn't move. You should take Destiny and disappear. I can arrange it. New city, new identity, enough money to start over. You'd be safe. But I'm selfish. He turned to face her fully, and the rawness in his expression stole her breath. I'm selfish and I'm tired and I'm so goddamn lonely that even knowing I'm putting you in danger, I can't bring myself to let you go. Layla's hand lifted of its own accord, touching his face. His skin was warm under her palm. He went absolutely still, like he was afraid to move and break the moment. You're not alone, she said softly. Not anymore. Layla, her name was a warning and a plea. I know this is crazy. I know you're dangerous and this whole situation is wrong in about 1,000 ways, but Destiny is happier than she's been in years. She talks about you constantly, about the books you recommend and the way you explain things to her. Her thumb brushed his cheekbone. And when I'm here, I feel less invisible, like I matter, like I'm more than just the sum of my struggles. His hand came up to cover hers, pressing it more firmly against his face. You matter. You've always mattered. The world just hasn't been paying attention. And then he was kissing her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate and hungry, weeks of tension exploding into contact. His hand cupped the back of her head, fingers tangling in her hair, and she melted into him. He tasted like coffee and mint, and he kissed like a man who'd been starving for contact, for connection, for something real in a world built on violence and lies. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Layla's mind was spinning. Taemin rested his forehead against hers, his eyes closed. This complicates things, he murmured. Yeah, people will use this. Will use you. I know. I can't promise to keep you completely safe. My world doesn't work that way. I know that too. He pulled back slightly, searching her face. Then why are you still here? Layla thought of her daughter, coloring happily at her desk. Of the life they'd built from nothing, always scraping by but always together. Of the walls she'd built around her heart after Destiny's father had left them both without a backward glance. Taemin was dangerous. He was complicated. He was involved in things she couldn't even fully comprehend, but he was also kind to her child. He noticed the small things. He looked at her like she was precious, like she was worth protecting, worth cherishing. And God help her, but she was tired of being strong alone. Because maybe we both deserve a chance at something good, she said finally, even if it's complicated, even if it's hard. Mama? Destiny's voice cut through the moment. Can I show Mr. Taemin my new coloring book? They sprang apart like teenagers caught by parents. Taemin ran a hand through his hair, his composure cracking just slightly. Layla stood, smoothing her uniform, her lips still tingling. Of course, baby, she managed. Destiny skipped over, completely oblivious to the charged atmosphere. It's all about ocean animals. Look, this is a dolphin, and this is a whale, and this is a sea turtle. Taemin listened with apparent fascination, but his hand found Layla's, hidden between their bodies where Destiny couldn't see. He squeezed gently. A promise, a question, an acknowledgement that everything had changed. Layla squeezed back. That evening, as she and Destiny were preparing to leave, Taemin handed her a phone. Sleek, new, expensive. It's secure, he explained. Encrypted, untraceable. My number is programmed in. If anything happens, anything at all, you call me immediately. Don't hesitate. Don't try to handle it yourself. Taemin, I can't accept this. You can, and you will. His voice brooked no argument. I meant what I said. You're under my protection now. That means certain precautions. Layla looked at the phone, then at him. At this man who killed people for a living but listened to a 6-year-old explain the difference between dolphins and porpoises with genuine interest. This contradiction, this impossibility. Okay, she whispered. He nodded, satisfied. Then, with a glance to make sure Destiny was occupied with putting on her coat, he leaned close. His lips brushed her ear. I'm going to keep you safe, he murmured. Both of you. Whatever it takes. A shiver ran through her that had nothing to do with fear. I believe you. That night in her tiny apartment, Layla lay awake long after Destiny had fallen asleep. The new phone sat on her nightstand, a physical reminder of the choice she'd made, the line she'd crossed. She should be terrified, should be planning their escape. Instead, she found herself touching her lips, remembering the taste of him, the feel of his hand in hers, the way he'd looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. Outside, the Bronx hummed with its usual nighttime symphony of sirens and shouts and life. But inside, in the darkness, Layla smiled. For the first time in 6 years, she wasn't facing the world alone. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth the risk. The crisis came on a Tuesday. Layla was at the penthouse as usual, Destiny at her desk working through a math worksheet that Taemin had somehow procured from an actual tutor. He'd been in and out all morning, tense in a way that made the air crackle. Something was wrong in his world, she could feel it, but he hadn't shared, and she hadn't asked. They'd been doing that dance for 2 weeks now, since the kiss, since the acknowledgement of whatever was growing between them. He touched her when they passed in hallways, small things, a hand at the small of her back, fingers grazing hers when he handed her coffee he'd started making for her every morning. Nothing overt. Nothing Destiny could see and question, but the tension built every day, a rubber band stretched to breaking. Tae-min emerged from his office at noon, his phone pressed to his ear, his expression carved from ice. "I don't care what Jun-sik wants. The answer is no. Tell him if he has a problem with my decision, he can come here and we'll settle it." He ended the call with a vicious swipe, then seemed to notice Layla watching from the kitchen doorway. His expression softened fractionally. "Sorry, business. Sounds serious." "It's always serious." He moved to the coffee maker, pouring himself a cup. "There's a disagreement about territory. Another organization thinks they can push into our areas. They're wrong." Layla dried her hands on a towel. "What will you do?" "What I always do. Make it clear that challenging me has consequences." He took a sip, his eyes distant. "Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to just walk away, to be someone else, somewhere else." "Why don't you?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Because the only way out of this life is death, mine or whoever would take over in my place, and I won't condemn my people to unstable leadership just because I'm tired." Before Layla could respond, the penthouse's private elevator dinged. They both froze. No one was scheduled, and no one should have access to that elevator without clearance. Tae-min moved fast, his hand going to the small of his back where Layla now knew he kept a gun. "Take Destiny into the master bathroom, lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you." Tae-min, "Now, Layla." The command in his voice galvanized her. She rushed to Destiny, scooping her up despite the girl's protests. "Baby, we're playing hide and seek. We need to be very quiet in the bathroom, okay?" "But Mama." "Shh, baby. Very, very quiet." She got them into the bathroom, locked the door, and set Destiny in the tub, climbing in beside her. Through the door she could hear voices, men speaking Korean. Tae-min's responses, sharp and angry. Then, cutting through it all, a sound that made Layla's blood freeze. Destiny's voice, bright and cheerful. "Hi, are you having a meeting?" "No. God, no." Layla had been so focused on getting Destiny to the bathroom that she hadn't realized her daughter had slipped away. She threw open the door, her heart in her throat, and found a scene from a nightmare. 4 men in the living room, 3 she didn't recognize, dressed in expensive suits that couldn't hide the violence in their postures. The 4th was Tae-min, standing between the men and Destiny, who'd somehow wandered right into the middle of a confrontation. "Destiny, come to Mama, right now." Layla's voice shook, but Destiny, oblivious to the danger, had picked up the phone on the side table. The secure line, the one Tae-min used for his most important calls. "Is this for calling people? My mama has a phone, but it's old and sometimes it doesn't work, and Mr. Tae-min gave her a new one, but—" "Destiny!" Layla lunged forward. One of the men laughed. "So this is the distraction, Tae-min. A little black girl and her mother, your father would be ashamed." Tae-min's voice, when he spoke, was deadly quiet. "My father is dead. And you're about to join him if you don't leave my home in the next 10 seconds. We came to talk sense into you. The territory in Queens isn't yours and never will be." Tae-min's hand hadn't left his back, hadn't moved toward his weapon, but the threat was implicit. "You have 5 seconds." Destiny, still holding the phone, pressed a button. It started ringing, and then, with the perfect timing of a child who understood nothing about the situation, she spoke into it. "Hello, are you single? Because my mom is really lonely and she's super pretty and she makes the best pancakes and she needs someone to marry her. Will you marry my mom?" The room went completely still. On the other end of the line, a voice Layla could hear even from across the room. "Who is this?" "My name is Destiny. I'm 6 and I live in the Bronx, and my mama cleans houses and Mr. Tae-min is really nice, and he needs someone to marry my mama because she gets sad sometimes even though she tries to hide it, and—" Tae-min moved. In 2 strides he crossed the room and took the phone from Destiny's hand, his expression a mix of horror and something that might have been hysterical laughter if he were a different person in a different situation. "Kim Sang-uk," he said into the phone. "I apologize for the interruption." The voice on the other end crackling with barely contained rage. "Is that a child? Did a child just answer my call?" "Yes." "Did she just try to arrange a marriage for you?" "Yes." A pause. Then, shockingly, laughter. Actual laughter. "I've been in this business for 40 years, Tae-min. I've seen everything. But never this. Never a 6-year-old matchmaker interrupting a call about a potential war." The 3 men in suits looked uncertain now. Their play for power was falling apart under the sheer absurdity of the situation. Tae-min, reading the room, seized his moment. Sang-uk, I have unwanted guests in my home, men who came without invitation to discuss matters already settled. May I call you back? Handle your house, Taemin, but I want to know more about this child who thinks you need a wife. Another laugh. Call me tonight. The line went dead. Taemin pocketed the phone, then turned to the three men. His expression had shifted from deadly to something worse, disappointed. You came into my home, threatened me in front of a child, and in the process interrupted a call with Kim Sang-uk, who is now amused instead of angry about the Queen's situation. He stepped forward. Leave, now, and consider your positions in the organization under review. The men left quickly, their confidence shattered. The moment they were gone, Taemin turned to Destiny. He knelt down to her level, and Layla saw his hands shake slightly before he clenched them into fists. Destiny, he said quietly, did I not tell you very clearly to stay away from my office and business matters? Destiny's lip trembled. I'm sorry. I just wanted to help. The phone was ringing and no one was answering, and Mama says it's rude to ignore calls, and you scared me. The admission seemed to surprise even Taemin. You could have been hurt. Those men, they're dangerous. If you had said the wrong thing, or if they had decided to use you to hurt me. Tears spilled down Destiny's cheeks. I didn't mean to be bad. You weren't bad. You were trying to help. But baby, sometimes helping means staying safe and letting adults handle adult things. He pulled her into a hug, and over her head his eyes found Layla's. Both of you could have been hurt. Layla, still shaking from adrenaline, crossed to them. She wanted to be angry, to yell at Taemin for bringing danger into their lives, to grab Destiny and run and never look back. But she saw it in his face, the genuine terror, the realization of what could have happened, the raw, exposed vulnerability of a man who'd just discovered he cared more than he could afford to. We're okay, she said softly. This time. He stood, still holding Destiny. But there will be a next time. There's always a next time in my world. Then maybe we need to change worlds. He stared at her. What? Layla took a deep breath, the words coming before she could second-guess them. You said the only way out is death. But that's not true. People leave criminal organizations all the time. They disappear. Start over. Trade what they have for safety. Layla, it's not that simple, isn't it? She stepped closer, her hand on his arm. You're miserable. You're trapped in a life you never chose, doing things you hate, surrounded by people you can't trust. And for what? Power? Money? Those things don't matter if you're dead inside. I have responsibilities, people who depend on me, and you can't help them if you're dead, or if you're so broken that you stop caring. She reached up, touching his face. I see you, Taemin. I see the man you're trying to be under all the violence and control. And that man, he deserves more than this. Destiny, sandwiched between them, piped up. I think Mama's right. You should marry her and come live with us. Our apartment is small, but we can share. Despite everything, Taemin laughed. A real, genuine laugh that transformed his face. Is that so? Yes. And then you can help me with homework, and Mama won't be sad anymore, and we can be a family. The word hung in the air. Family. Something Taemin hadn't had since his sister left. Something he'd convinced himself he didn't deserve. Couldn't have. Destiny, Layla said gently. It's more complicated than that. Why? Her daughter looked genuinely confused. You like him. He likes you. I like both of you. That's how families work. Taemin set Destiny down carefully. He looked at Layla, really looked at her, and she saw the war raging behind his eyes. Duty versus desire. The life he knew versus the life he wanted. Your daughter just proposed marriage on your behalf to Kim Sang-uk, he said quietly. One of the most dangerous men in the Korean underworld, I heard. She has absolutely no sense of self-preservation. She gets that from me. This is insane. You've said that before. He reached out, pulling Layla close. With Destiny between them, it was awkward, but it was also perfect. A small unit against the world. I need time, he murmured into her hair, to figure out how to do this without getting you killed. To find a way out that doesn't end with all of us in graves. How much time? I don't know, but until I do, you're both staying here. Layla pulled back. What? Your apartment isn't safe anymore. Those men know where you live. They'll use that. His jaw set. Move in, both of you. The penthouse has security, cameras, guards. You'll be protected here. Taemin, we can't just move in. You can, and you will. He softened slightly. Please, I can't function knowing you're out there, vulnerable. Let me do this. Let me keep you safe while I figure out the rest. Destiny bounced excitedly. We're moving to the pretty apartment with the windows? Really? Layla looked at her daughter's joy, at Taemin's desperate hope, at the life they could maybe, possibly have if they were brave enough to reach for it. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." And as Taemin pulled them both close, Layla felt the last of her walls crumble. She was all in now, for better or worse. She just prayed it wouldn't be worse. 2 months changed everything. Layla stood at those massive floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the sun rise over the Hudson River, and marveled at how quickly the extraordinary had become ordinary. Destiny asleep in what was now her room, filled with more toys and books than one child could possibly need, the scent of coffee brewing in the kitchen, the sound of Taemin's voice, low and measured, on an early morning call in his office. Home. This impossible, dangerous, beautiful place had become home. But underneath the domestic tranquility, tension simmered. Taemin had been working obsessively, meeting with lawyers, accountants, people he called clean business consultants. He was planning something, she knew, but he hadn't shared details, said it was safer if she didn't know until it was done. The not knowing was killing her. "Mama," Destiny's voice called from her room. "Is it time for school yet?" Private school. Another change. Taemin had enrolled Destiny in one of Manhattan's best, with security protocols and background checks that rivaled the FBI. The other parents thought Layla was Taemin's wife. She'd stopped correcting them. "Half an hour, baby. Get dressed." She heard Taemin's office door open, then his footsteps. He appeared beside her, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. He gave her one without speaking, just stood with her, watching the city wake up. "It's Tuesday," she said quietly. "I know. The meeting with Sang-uk is today." "Yes. Are you going to tell me what you're planning?" Taemin set his coffee down, then turned her to face him. 2 months together had made them comfortable with touch. His hands settled on her waist like they belonged there. Her palms pressed against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. "I'm getting out," he said simply. Layla's breath caught. "What?" "I've been liquidating assets, selling off businesses, transferring control to my second-in-command, piece by piece, in ways that don't look like retreat." His eyes, intense as always, searched hers. "Today, I'm meeting with Sang-uk and the other family heads. I'm proposing a new structure, one where I step back from operations but maintain advisory status, keep connections but lose direct involvement. They'll never agree to that. They will if I offer them something valuable in return." His jaw tightened. "I'm giving them Queens, the territory everyone's been fighting over. I'm ceding it freely in exchange for my exit and your safety, yours and Destiny's." Layla's hands fisted in his shirt. "Taemin, that territory is worth millions. It's leverage, power. It's nothing compared to waking up every morning knowing you're both here. Safe. Mine." He cupped her face. "I've spent 16 years in this life. I've killed, lied, destroyed. I can't undo any of it, but I can stop adding to the body count. I can choose something different. What if they say no? Then we disappear. I have contingencies, passports, accounts, safe houses. We'll vanish and they'll never find us." The thought of running, of constantly looking over their shoulders, made her sick. But the alternative, watching Taemin sink deeper into a life that was destroying him, was worse. "I love you," she said suddenly. The words spilled out, unstoppable. "I love you, and I'm terrified, and I don't know how this became my life, but I can't imagine going back to what it was before." Taemin's eyes widened. In 2 months of living together, of shared meals and quiet conversations, and stolen kisses when Destiny was asleep, neither of them had said it, as if speaking it aloud would make it real, make it vulnerable. "Layla, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know, before you walk into that meeting, before you risk everything." Her voice shook. "I need you to know that you're loved, that someone sees all of you, the good and the bad and the complicated, and loves you anyway." He kissed her, deep and desperate, a kiss that tasted like promises and fear and hope. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "I love you," he whispered. "I've loved you since Destiny asked me if I got lonely, and I realized I'd been lonely my entire life until you both crashed into it. I love you so much it terrifies me, because love is leverage, love is weakness, and if they figure out how much you mean to me—" "They already know," Layla interrupted. "The whole world knows, Taemin. You gave me your home, your protection, your heart. There's no hiding it now." He nodded slowly. "Then I have nothing left to lose. Except us. You have us to lose. Which is why I'm doing this." He straightened, his expression shifting into the mask she recognized. The boss. The leader. The man who commanded rooms full of dangerous people. I need to get ready, the car comes in an hour. I'm going with you. Absolutely not. Yes. Layla set her jaw. If you're going to walk into a room full of crime bosses and propose leaving the life, I'm going to be there. As a reminder of why you're doing it. It's too dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous, but we're in it together, remember? She grabbed his hand. Besides, Destiny can stay with the guards here. She'll be safe, and you need someone watching your back who actually cares if you live or die. Taemin stared at her, then laughed. That same genuine laugh she'd first heard when Destiny had suggested they all live together. You're insane. I prefer ambitious. Destiny's word. She's a smart kid. He pulled her close again, breathing her in. If anything happens, it won't. But if it does, there's a safe in my office. Code is Destiny's birthday. Inside are documents, accounts, everything you need. Take her and run. Don't look back. Layla's throat tightened. Nothing is going to happen. Promise me anyway. I promise. 4 hours later, Layla sat in the back of a private room in a restaurant in Koreatown, watching her man face down 5 of the most powerful crime bosses in New York. Kim Sang-uk sat at the head of the table, the elder statesman, his eyes sharp despite his age. The others ranged from their 40s to 60s, all Korean, all radiating the kind of power that came from decades of control. Taemin stood, because he'd refused to sit, refused to appear subservient, even in request. I'm stepping back, he said without preamble in Korean. Layla's understanding was limited, but she'd picked up enough over the months to follow. Not out completely. I'll maintain advisory status, provide counsel when requested, but operational control transfers to Lee Jun-ho. Effective immediately. Silence. Then Sang-uk leaned back. Why? Personal reasons. Not good enough. One of the younger bosses, Park, sneered. Your father built this organization from nothing. You dishonor his memory by abandoning it for what? A woman? A child that isn't even yours? Taemin's expression didn't change, but Layla saw his hands clench. I dishonor my father by continuing a legacy built on violence when there are alternative paths. I've served for 16 years. I've earned the right to choose differently. You've earned nothing. Park stood. You're weak, compromised, and weakness in leadership destroys organizations. Then accept my offer, and the weakness is removed. Taemin's voice stayed level. I'm giving you queens. Full territory rights, no contest. In exchange, you let me walk away and you guarantee protection for my family. Your family, Park spat. You mean the cleaning woman and her bastard child? The temperature in the room dropped. Layla saw it happen, saw Taemin's control snap. He moved fast. 1 second he was standing at the table. The next, Park was against the wall, Taemin's hand around his throat. Say that again, Taemin said quietly, in English now. I want to make sure I understand before I crush your windpipe. Taemin, Sang-uk's voice cracked like a whip. Release him. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Taemin stepped back, his chest heaving. Park gasped for air. My apologies, Taemin said, still in English, but let me be crystal clear. Layla and Destiny are under my protection. Not negotiable, not debatable. Anyone who threatens them, insults them, or even thinks too hard about them will answer to me. Are we understood? Sang-uk studied him, then smiled slowly. You love her. It wasn't a question, but Taemin answered anyway. Yes. And the child? Is mine in every way that matters. Another boss, Kim, spoke up. If we agree to this, you're out. Completely out. No coming back if you change your mind. I understand. And if enemies from your past come for you, I'll handle them myself. No organizational involvement. Sang-uk tapped his fingers on the table, considering. Finally, he spoke. Your father was my friend. A good man who made hard choices to protect his family. I see his strength in you, Taemin, and his wisdom. He paused. I accept your offer. Queens is ours. You have your freedom. And your family has our protection, on my word. One by one, the other bosses nodded. Even Park, still rubbing his throat, gave grudging agreement. It was done. Layla didn't realize she'd been holding her breath until it rushed out. Taemin's eyes found hers across the room, and in them she saw relief so profound it made her chest ache. He bowed to the assembled bosses, then walked to her, took her hand, led her out of the restaurant into the bright afternoon sun. On the sidewalk, he stopped. Just stopped and breathed, like a man surfacing after nearly drowning. You did it, Layla whispered. We did it. He pulled her close. You and Destiny. You gave me a reason to fight for something different. Something better. What happens now? Now? He smiled. Now I'm just a man, with a woman I love and a daughter who needs help with her math homework. No territories, no violence, just life. Just life, Layla repeated, testing the words. They felt impossibly fragile. Impossibly precious. Taemin's phone buzzed. He checked it, then laughed. It's a message from Sang-uk. He says Destiny can call him anytime she wants to arrange more marriages. Apparently he was very entertained. Despite everything, Layla laughed too. Our daughter. The matchmaker. Our daughter, Taemin repeated softly. I like the sound of that. She'll be thrilled you're officially hers now. She's been telling everyone at school that you're her dad. Then I should make it official. He dropped to one knee right there on the sidewalk in the middle of Koreatown with people streaming past and staring. Layla, I have no ring, no plan, nothing but the absolute certainty that I want to spend the rest of my life earning your trust and making you happy. Will you marry me? Layla's vision blurred with tears. You're serious. Never been more serious about anything. Marry me. Let me be Destiny's father legally, and your husband, actually. Let me prove that I can be the man you see when you look at me. Yes, she breathed. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He stood, swinging her into his arms, kissing her like she was oxygen and he'd been suffocating. Around them, people clapped. A few took pictures. Layla didn't care. When they finally broke apart, Taemin's eyes were wet. Thank you, he whispered, for seeing me, for loving me, for giving me a reason to become someone worth loving. You were always worth loving, Layla said fiercely. You just needed someone to show you. They drove back to the penthouse in silence, hands clasped, the weight of the past lifting with every mile. When they walked in, Destiny looked up from her coloring. You're back. Did the meeting go good? Taemin knelt down, opening his arms. Destiny ran into them without hesitation. It went very good, sweetheart. I have some news. How would you feel about me officially becoming your dad? Destiny's squeal could probably be heard in New Jersey. Really? For real, real? For real, real? Your mama and I are getting married. More squealing. Then Destiny pulled back, her expression suddenly serious. Does this mean I can call you Dad instead of Mr. Taemin? His voice broke slightly. I would love that more than anything. Okay, Dad. She tested the word, grinning. Can we get a dog now? Because families should have dogs. Layla and Taemin exchanged glances over her head, both laughing through tears. We'll talk about it, Taemin said diplomatically. That night, after Destiny was asleep, they stood at those windows again. But this time Taemin's arms were around Layla, her back against his chest, their future spread out before them like the city lights. I'm scared, he admitted quietly. I've never done normal, never had a family. What if I'm terrible at it? Then we'll figure it out together. Layla turned in his arms, looking up at him. You're not alone anymore, Taemin. None of us are. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips, soft and sweet and full of promise. I love you, he murmured against her mouth. I love you too. And for the first time in either of their lives, those words didn't feel dangerous. They felt like home. Years later, people who knew the story would still talk about it. About the maid and the mafia boss. About the little girl who grabbed a phone and changed everything. About the man who walked away from power for love. But for the people living it, life had become beautifully, wonderfully ordinary. Taemin stood in the backyard of their house in Westchester, watching Destiny, now 12, train their golden retriever. The dog, ridiculously named Pancake because Destiny had insisted, bounded around her with enthusiastic incompetence. She's never going to teach him to sit, Layla said, appearing beside him with 2 glasses of lemonade. Probably not, Taemin agreed, taking a glass, but she'll have fun trying. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of normalcy, or as normal as life could be for a former crime boss trying to run legitimate businesses. The consulting firm had thrived, the real estate investments had paid off. They were comfortable, secure, safe, and more importantly, they were happy. Your sister called, Layla said. She wants to know if Destiny can visit California this summer. What did you tell her? That we'd ask Destiny. She's old enough to decide. Taemin nodded. His relationship with his sister had mended over the years. She'd been shocked by his exit from the organization, terrified for his safety but ultimately supportive. They video-called weekly now. She'd been at the wedding, tears streaming down her face as she watched her brother marry the woman who'd saved him. Dad, Destiny called. Come help. Pancake won't listen to me. Because you gave him a ridiculous name, Taemin called back, but he was already walking toward her. Layla watched him go, this man who'd been forged in violence, but who held their daughter with infinite gentleness, who read bedtime stories with funny voices, who coached her soccer team with the same intensity he'd once applied to criminal operations, who loved fiercely and completely, and without reservation. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The daughter did good. You both deserve happiness. S.O. Sang-uk. Still checking in occasionally, still honoring his word. Taemin's exit had been clean, complete. No one from that world had touched them, no threats, no violence. Just the occasional cryptic message reminding them they were still under protection. "Mama!" Destiny's voice. "Come see, Pancake almost sat." Layla walked toward her family, her heart full. Some love stories began with meet-cutes and romantic gestures. Theirs had begun with a phone call and a 6-year-old's innocent belief that everyone deserved love. And somehow, against all odds, that belief had been enough. Taemin caught her eye over Destiny's head, mouthed the words, "I love you." She mouthed back, "I love you too." In the distance, the city skyline glittered. The world they'd left behind, the life they'd escaped. But here, in this yard with their daughter and their ridiculous dog and each other, none of that mattered. They were free. They were home. They were exactly where they were meant to be, and really, what more could anyone ask for?